Hello, my beautiful friends. I am here today to share a very special video with you. It is how to heal your inner child in 7 steps. And the reason I want to bring you this video is because I just recently went through a very transformational experience myself with healing my inner child and doing inner child work. And so I want to take you through my 7 steps, and I will kind of use my recent experience to give you examples to help kind of explain what we want to work through here. And the thing I want to really stress is that the goal throughout this process of healing our inner child is not to fix our inner child or fix ourselves. When we come in with the mentality of fix, which I can totally be guilty of, we never actually fix anything because we think that something's wrong in the first place. We label ourselves as imperfect, we're mad at ourselves, we're shaming ourselves, we're guilting ourselves, and we're coming in with that energy. So the goal with this healing is to feel. We don't want to fix it, we want to feel it. Feeling is healing. I know that's cheesy and rhyming, but it's so, so true. And so as I take you through the 7 steps, I'm going to continue to repeat myself that the goal here, there is no goal, but what we are doing here is just feeling it. Finding our inner child, feeling them, finally seeing them, finally feeling them, finally giving them the love that they deserve that maybe they didn't get growing up. In parenting our inner child in a way, letting the inner child take us over and actually be seen and integrated into our lives. And through that, a lot profound healing comes. So that is our focus. So my 7 steps. So step 1 is that you want to discover where in you, what part of your inner child, what age of your child, of you, is the thing that needs healing. And maybe it's a couple ages. And so my tips for discovering this inner child that is craving healing is a couple of things. 1, you can literally go through old photos of yourself growing up at different ages, and the light bulb moment is if you look at a picture of yourself and you're like, oh, or like you feel like shame, or you don't like want to like admit that that was you or part of you, or you feel guilt, or you feel like you don't like that version of you, or you want to pretend like it never existed. Light bulb moment. That is the inner child that needs the attention, the healing, the love. Also, you can literally go through thinking of your life and think about, if you don't have access to photos, just think like, what part of me have I not thought about in years? What age of myself have I not thought about in years? And this doesn't just have to be for your inner child, it's any younger version of yourself. When I was doing it, I was mainly focused on 8-year-old Heather. But as I worked through this process, like 23-year-old Heather came up, 4-year-old Heather, 2-year-old Heather, 19-year-old Heather, 16-year-old Heather. And so I just kind of continued to do this process. And as a new version of Heather would come up, I would just try to integrate her and hold her as well. But I started more with the focus of 1. And so it can help throughout this process if you actually did find a photo that like triggered you and you're like, I'm like ashamed of that part of me, or I don't like that part of me. Keep that photo with you through this process. And I swear it'll be incredible the way that your perspective of that photo and of that version of yourself shifts throughout this process. So that's step 1, identifying which part of you needs the most healing. And again, it's just about looking at you in different ages and thinking which one irks you from the inside. Which one are you like, whoa? Or which one have you not thought about? Like, what age of yourself have you not thought about in years? And so then step 2 is going to be creating a safe time and a safe space for you to go into this process. And there's 2 ways you can do this. You can do this alone if you don't feel like you have somebody that you trust to facilitate, or to just hold you in this experience, or you can do this with somebody. I definitely would suggest doing it with somebody just because usually the wound that the inner child carries was created with somebody else. Maybe you didn't feel loved by somebody else. Maybe somebody else bullied you or made fun of you. And so, for example, my inner wound was that I felt unworthy of love. I felt shame and bullied when I was around the age of 8 and other ages. I felt like, yeah, like people had picked on me, people had abused me, people had ignored me. And so I was like so angry and sad. And so because I had such a lack of love, or at least I felt like I was having such a lack of love and attention at that age, that this 8-year-old version of me had like locked herself in her bedroom and was just so deeply sad because she didn't feel loved. And then because she didn't feel loved, and there was nothing that she could do about it, she went into this internal narrative cycle of like shaming herself and like telling herself like, you are obviously unworthy of love. If you don't feel love, then obviously nobody loves you. Something's wrong with you. You're too overweight, you're too ugly, like all of these things. And so that version of me needed to not only feel myself, tell it that I was worthy, or that version of me was worthy, that version of me was perfect and beautiful and a badass, and look at how much she went through, and she's so amazing and beautiful and perfect. But having my partner there to also hold me and also witness her with me as I witnessed her, for him to feel my pain as I told my story, for him to hold me and tell me in my ear that I am worthy of love and he loves me and I am loved by him and I am love, was incredibly healing. And so if you don't feel like you have somebody to help you go through this, that's totally okay. You can totally do this on your own. I am a believer that we are our own heroes. But having somebody else there can definitely create beautiful healing and can really help the situation. And I would also say that if you don't have somebody with you, that you can journal. You can use the journaling. I would definitely have a notebook with you to help you stay focused and kind of keep your train of thought going in a consecutive order, versus like if you're alone and you don't have that, you might just like be in this tornado and having a hard time navigating. Also, another goal for creating a safe time and a safe space is like make sure that you literally feel like the physical space you're in is comfortable and safe. Get blankets, incense, candles. Close the door, make sure nobody's going to come in and disturb you. Make sure you can make noise. If you don't have access to that, give yourself any sort of version that you feel like is a safe space. Even just like you have roommates or family, just be like, hey guys, I'm going to like do something. And if you don't feel like sharing with them, be like, please leave me alone for X amount of hours, maybe the whole rest of the day, honestly, because you deserve that. And your inner child, if you think about the years of being pushed down and neglected that it has experienced, taking half of a day, a whole day for it is not a lot to ask, and is just incredibly healing. The biggest thing that I want to stress with creating a safe time and a safe space is that you, and if there's somebody facilitating, should be no judgment. Like this entire process, there should be no control. There should be no judgment that is brought into it. It is a surrender only. Surrender to the process, surrender to the flow of your feelings. And what I mean by that is that like, if something comes up from that part of your life and you instantly judge yourself for it, you're not letting yourself witness it. You're not letting yourself feel it. You're not letting that version of you be felt or seen or loved. You're again triggering that, oh, I'm so ashamed of that version of me. I want to bury it. And the point is that we want to see what we've buried in ourselves. What part of ourselves have we buried that we're blind to, that we don't even know we've buried? We've buried them so deep, we've like blocked them from our own vision because we're so ashamed of them. And we want to let them out, and we want to witness them, and we want to feel them and love them and integrate them. And it'll be wild, so incredibly rewarding to feel how much lighter you feel afterwards, how much more powerful, because there's this part of you that was missing, that was like blacked out and in a cage that is now free. Things will, like, your mind will literally be clearer. Things will make more sense. You will feel more empowered. You will feel more connected and in line and in flow and lighter. It's really incredible. But I'm getting off track. My point is that don't judge yourself. And also, if somebody's facilitating for you, tell them, hey, I just need you to hold space for me. I just need me to flow in whatever way I need to flow, and for whatever comes up. And I just need you there to listen to me, to hear me, to hold me if I need that, to get me more tissues if I need that, to let me project onto you if I feel anger, or sadness or different emotions, and for you to put up like almost like an energetic wall that you're not going to like take anything personally. This is a safe space where you're just holding for me, and you're holding me, and I need you to tell me that you love me or that I am loved. Help to encourage me if I'm struggling to get out of this tornado. You can for sure help then to pull me into the light by just loving me and holding me and telling me that I'm safe and that I'm seen and that I'm loved. But the point of this is to kind of go into the darkness, to go into the shadows. In my personal experience, I was struggling to navigate. And I'll kind of get into that more when I talk about another step. But that's okay if you're struggling to navigate, if you're in the shadows. Just be conscious of that. Be aware. Be like, oh, okay, I'm struggling to navigate. I feel like I'm in a tornado. Like, I feel my inner child taking over, and I feel like a child. Or I feel like 31-year-old Heather's consciousness coming in and witnessing. And that's totally okay with whatever's happening. Just let it happen. Surrender to the flow. Again, no control, no judgment needed, just surrendering to the flow. And if somebody else is holding a space for you, ask them, are you genuinely able to hold this space for me right now? And B, tell them, like, I don't want you to control this process. I don't want you to judge me. I don't necessarily even want your comments, except for just like, I love you, and just witnessing me and listening to me. And like, we can discuss it later. Like, I don't want to like shun you, but this is a space that I need to just be witnessed, and I just need to feel things. I need to be heard. I need to be loved. And like, that is the goal, and explaining that goal to them so that when you're in the middle of the process, they're facilitating for you in that way. And I think that's really it for the creating the safe time and space. Because again, we just want a place where we feel comfortable to feel and see our inner child. That's it. Because most likely this version of yourself hasn't been felt, hasn't been seen in a long time. And usually a wound of an inner child, all they want is to be seen for who they are. They just want somebody else to feel their pain. They want somebody to tell them that they are worthy and that they love them. And so this is literally what we're doing in this process. Our third step is going to be telling your story. And so whatever version or whatever age that we're focusing on, or if you're focusing on your whole childhood or multiple ages, what you want to do is either to the person that's helping you or in your journal, you want to write down, like, tell your story, tell the story of your trauma and your childhood and what this person went through, and just word vomit it out. If you're journaling, it doesn't need to be legible. You never have to reread it. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. Your hand might be moving faster or might not be moving fast enough as your mind. Another thing that can be really helpful is sometimes I will just like voice record on my phone or video record on my phone and I won't even have it aimed at me. And that will help me for some reason keep my thoughts in a cohesive stream. It feels as if something's listening to me. And then that way I'm not like getting super lost or distracted by just blobbing this stuff out. So if you feel like it's too much to try to journal and your mind's moving too fast, that's a beautiful tip as well. Yeah, and again, the point of telling your story of like what traumas this part of you went through, what pain they feel, is for you and the facilitator or the phone or anyone to just feel your pain. Just puke the stuff out. It's okay to project. It's okay to be in your emotions. That is literally the goal. The goal is to just feel it and let it out. And then the beautiful thing that's going to happen, which takes us to step 4, is that you're going to feel all these things. You're going to like remember things that maybe you hadn't remembered in a long time or talked about or realized. And you're like, whoa, this part of me went through so much, and just feel it. All you need to do is see what emotions are coming up and just sit with them. There's no goal, there's no judgment, there's no control. All we need to do here is surrender and feel. And so this is the moment where like you might feel in a bit of a tornado and things are going in different directions. Like, for example, for me, as like I was telling my story of my childhood, and I was focused on this 8-year-old version of me, but I was telling like my whole childhood to my partner, and I was just like, which, side note, is an incredibly beautiful healing thing to do with anybody, to finally trust somebody that you can share yourself with. And something that I forgot to mention, which forgive me, of deciding who to facilitate for you, is that if you feel like, oh no, I can't trust anybody to facilitate for me, look at that. Because part of your wound of your inner child is most likely you feeling like you're not allowed to be seen. You can't trust anybody. Nobody will love you. And is that true? And like, of course you probably feel that way. I totally felt that way. The only reason I was able to go into this with my partner in full transparency is because I was triggered and it started exploding out of me and I started crying and discovered this process that I'm sharing with you now. And so I didn't have the conscious moment to be like, I trust him. I love him. I am worthy of being seen, because it can feel embarrassing. I was legitimately like ashamed of this part of myself and this part of my life. And it kind of just overflowed, and that's how it happened for me. But looking back and doing this again, I've come to see that like something else that needed to heal with my inner child was that I felt like I was unworthy of love. That was like my biggest topic. I felt like my emotions, like I was told when I was younger, I was too sensitive. So I felt like nobody could handle my emotions. Nobody wanted my emotions. I was unworthy of love. I would just burden people if I shared myself. I can't trust them to love me and hold my space. And a lot of the inner wounding of my inner child was made in isolation, feeling unworthy of love, shoving myself down, shaming myself. And so it can be really hard to have somebody facilitate for you or let somebody facilitate for you. But again, it's so wildly healing to actually realize that all of those beliefs that you were carrying of feeling unworthy of somebody witnessing your pain isn't true. That I am here today to fully tell you that you are worthy. You are worthy of being seen. You are worthy of being witnessed. You are worthy of being loved. There are people out there who love you, who want to witness your pain, who want to help you through your pain, who you can trust. Even if it feels like maybe there's not, what if there is? And what if this is an incredible opportunity to change that belief, to let yourself feel worthy. Yeah. And so that is the part that I missed about having somebody facilitate for you, is just if you have beliefs that come up that feel like you can't trust anybody, or you're not worthy of that, or how could you ask somebody to do that? Nobody would want to do that. Look at those beliefs. Those beliefs are most likely incorrect. And those beliefs are most likely part of this childhood wound. And on top of healing your child, you could heal those beliefs by giving somebody that loves you a chance to love you. I have another video coming up about how to receive love. And if this feels like a big topic for you, I would check out that video of how to genuinely let love in, how to let somebody love you, and how to know that you're worthy of that and to feel that. But back to our beautiful how to heal your inner child facilitation video. Okay, so we're on step 4 of feeling. And so as you're telling your story, you're going to start to feel different emotions. And back to my example, for me, it was a tornado. I was telling my story and I just was like numb, like blurring it all out, like super disassociated. I was super disassociated from my childhood. I had almost forgotten about what a lot of the things happened. It was so much pain and so many worthiness topics. And that I had shamed myself so much that I had literally detached from most of my childhood. And so as I was saying it out loud, I was just numb. And then I finally had this moment where I realized that I felt like I was unworthy of my family's love. I felt like I was unworthy of love. And so I said that part out loud, and then I just lost it. I just crumbled and was crying and feeling so sad and so unworthy of love. And one moment I feel my inner child. I finally have let this 8-year-old version of me out of a cage, out of a dark black abyss that I shoved her in to never be looked at again. I'm finally letting her be seen. I'm finally witnessing her pain. I'm finally trying to let her out and breathe. And you can imagine after the decades of her being shoved in, there's some moments that are overwhelming, but they're beautiful. This whole tornado, it's of course it's work and it's painful and it can be overwhelming, but it's also equally incredible and beautiful. And it's you feel all this weight bursting out of you and leaving you, all this shadow and darkness bursting out of you and leaving you. And you feel so much light and love infiltrating you. And that's kind of like the tornado. It's the darkness is coming out and the light is infiltrating, and they're both going. And then you're feeling all the emotions that you push down. You're literally I felt like I was an 8-year-old child in some moments, and was just sobbing and telling my partner that I was unworthy of love. And then in other moments, I was my 31-year-old conscious self who could totally see everything that was happening, which is really wild. It's really wild to be wow, I literally can see what is happening. I can see the healing that's taking place. I was in my process being man, I have to make a video about this. Thinking about the benchmarks that I was hitting. Because again, I was just in witness mode sometimes in this tornado. And I just let it happen. However long it needs to happen, just let it happen. Keep feeling, keep flowing, go from child to adult to child to adult, crumble, put blankets over you, cry into the blankets, go through a whole roll of toilet paper. If there's anger, scream and punch a pillow and throw a pillow and put on angry music and dance around and feel it. Feel it. Let yourself, if you're feeling numb, numbness is a feeling. Let yourself feel numb. There's no control. There's no judgment. We're just feeling. We're surrendering. We're giving ourselves a safe space to do this. And so as you're kind of feeling and letting this happen, the next step 5, would be to feel into your body. Our emotions are very, very, very much attached to our physical body. Our physical body and our emotions, even though in language we categorize, we're this is the body and this is the emotions, they are one thing. They very much are one thing. And so if you've ever noticed whenever you're having emotions that you feel it in certain places, like, oh, you feel like, you like your stomach gets tight. You feel sad, you literally cry. You feel an energy shift and you yawn. Like your body reacts to these things. And so as we're letting ourselves feel, and again, numbness is a feeling, if another step that I would kind of simultaneously go back and forth between 4 and 5 is like feel the emotion. And if you ever feel stuck, or also just do this in general, feel into your body. Where do you feel something? If you're ever like, I don't know what I'm feeling, feel into the body and be like, where do I have a physical sensation? And breathe into that. Like feel it like, okay, oh, like my heart feels like just darkness. There's just darkness around it. For me, this was my experience. I was like, I've told myself for so long when I was a child that I was unworthy of love, that there's just this darkness that I've put in my heart, and I've hardened my heart because of so much pain that I had felt. And so I'm like feeling into that, and I'm like breathing into that, and I'm just like letting it be, and I'm just sitting there for however long I want, feeling that physical sensation, breathing into it, and just letting it be. And as I do that, I start to feel like the darkness like moving and the shadows moving, and I'm starting to feel it like move in a certain direction, and I can feel that it wants to leave me. And so I personally called in a guide. I called in an angel, Michael. Whoever intuitively comes to you, if you feel like there's something that energetically is manifested in your body through this child process and you want to let it go, I would call in some sort of guide to take it away from you. Or I would call in the light or Mother Earth to like recycle this energy and take it away from you, so you don't have to worry about that. So for me, it just intuitively felt like I wanted to call in the Archangel Michael. And so I'm like letting this like shadowiness like come out of me, and Michael is taking it. I can feel him just taking it. And then I felt and like saw the room, my bedroom when I was a child that I had like locked myself in just to sob, because I felt like nobody loved me and nobody wanted me. And so I just wanted to be alone and shame myself and tell myself I was unworthy of love. I felt that room burst into light, and just like the image that I had of that room in my mind just shatter into light. And then I felt this 8-year-old version of myself just like kind of like becoming light, and like kind of actually like becoming a part of my body again, like becoming one with me again. And she was like breathing again, and like finally let out of this cage and this darkness. And so I could feel my heart soften, and again, all of this is like happening in and out while like my partner's holding me, and just holding me. He wasn't even speaking. He was just literally holding me, and my eyes were closed. And some moments I'm crying, and some moments I'm just breathing deeply and feeling. And he's like, has no idea what's going on. And like, I would even tell him every once in a while, like, please just keep holding me. Like I'll tell you what I'm going through afterwards. And he did an incredible job holding space. And then that is kind of like how I continued to like flow through this. Like I would feel something, I would let it go. I would feel into it. I would feel into the body, and I just let it take as much time as it needed. It took hours, honestly. I went through a whole roll of toilet paper. It took hours. I think I had to take like 4 bathroom breaks, chugged a bunch of water. When you're crying, it's dehydrating you. So make sure to chug a bunch of water so you don't have like a throbbing headache. And if this isn't what your experience looks like, beautiful. This is just my experience, and I'm just explaining it and giving examples to help you understand kind of what can happen and how you can just be, and how you can feel to heal. And so I'm starting to kind of feel myself come down, and like I'm still just like super confused. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? There wasn't like a resolution. I didn't have like a resolution in this day, just so that you understand that. And so, but I felt myself, I was just like, I'm exhausted. I'm not totally sure if the shadows are gone or if I'm healed. I have no idea, but like, I just feel like I'm ready to rest. Like I feel tired. I feel more at peace. I felt the emotions. They've moved through my body. I think I can kind of feel the 8-year-old version of me there now and like holding her. And so step 6 is going to be taking it easy. If you can, I would highly recommend you taking that whole day off, but taking the rest of the day off to just lay, to rest, and try, really, really, really try not to distract yourself. No TV, no like overeating, anything that you do to numb yourself or distract yourself, I would really encourage against, because if you try to just go back into your daily life tomorrow and not integrate this and not rest, you're literally just going to be like carrying this one feeling that you have in this moment after this process with you. So let yourself rest, let yourself integrate. It's worth it. You've spent years and decades pushing this part of you down. It's going to feel so incredible. Life is going to open to you. You're going to feel so much lighter if you give yourself like a full day, maybe even a little bit more than a day. But so I would take the rest of the day off to just rest, drink water, light some incense or candles, open a window, get some fresh air, cover yourself in blankets, whatever just feels so nourishing. A cold washcloth over your forehead and eyes, and just be. And I would suggest just resting the rest of that day, and then the next morning taking time, this would be step 7, to integrate. And like the resting is 1000% part of the integration process. There's like 2 parts to this integration process. One is rest, because you're going to need it. You just did a lot of work. You did a lot of work. You deserve it, okay? Your inner child deserves it. And anyone that you're ever going to love or want to give love to or want to receive their love deserves you to take this time. So yeah, first process, rest, which I would suggest be the rest of the day. And then the next morning, I would suggest taking some integration process. And this doesn't have to take long. For me, I want to say I took like 30, 45 minutes to do this, maybe an hour max. But what you want to do is you can journal, meditate, again, just lay there, whatever feels right. Talk to the person that you love again, that is facilitated for you. And you want to think about, what did you learn? What did you learn about yourself? And for example, like for me, I learned that I was super ashamed of a part of myself that I hated, that she was overweight. I thought that she was ugly. I thought that since nobody else loved her, that I shouldn't love her either. I realized that there were some things that were way more traumatic than I actually gave them credit to be. Like I realized so many things about myself. And so then again, I just kind of sat with that version of myself, that 8-year-old version of myself. And I sat with those learnings, and I just felt her. And I imagined that photo of me again when I was 8. And I still kind of felt this like, whoa, like, I'm ashamed of her. I don't want to look at her. And then I was like, okay, I'm sorry, 8-year-old version of Heather. I'm sorry, me. I'm sorry that I was ashamed of you. I'm sorry that I am still ashamed of you. I'm sorry that I've pushed you down. You don't deserve that. You are worthy of love. I will hold you. You are so worthy. You have done so much. You're so amazing. And you don't want to focus too much on thinking here. Our minds are a beautiful tool to help us navigate feeling, but really what we want to focus on here is still feeling this version of yourself, feeling what you learned, feeling that like, wow, I used to treat this version of me like this, but the whole point is now to like, not the whole point, but like now how do I want to treat this version of myself? I am worthy of love. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of being witnessed. You are worthy of being seen. You are worthy of being cherished and loved. And so integrating that into that version of myself, telling her these things. And the biggest thing is like finally letting her be a part of me. For so many years, I didn't even realize that I disassociated that part of my life from myself. I shut it out and I pushed it away, and I pretended as if that wasn't me and that wasn't a part of me. And I remember even looking at that photo and being like, ugh, who is that? That's not me. Like, oh, I don't even want to look at that. I don't even like that. And so finally, in this process, in our final step, our step 7, feeling her and allowing her to finally exist as part of you. And one of the things that really helped me do this is just like a side tip is to look in the mirror. I would look in the mirror and I would tell the version of me now, like, I love you. You're so worthy. You're beautiful. You're amazing. I love you so much. You're so worthy of love. And to be loved by yourself and by other people, to be seen. And then I would like imagine that 8-year-old version of me as a part of me looking at myself in the mirror, and I would tell her the same things. And I kind of got to this point where I stopped thinking and saying these things, and I just felt them. And I'm just staring into my own eyes, feeling them. And so I did that, and I kind of laid for a while, and I just like realized that there were all these other versions of myself that I had shamed and like disassociated from. And so I was just feeling these different versions of myself and letting them come into my body and letting them exist and being proud that they existed, loving them because they are worthy of that. And so, yeah, wanting to make sure that you give yourself an integration phase. And again, the healing is not like the goal. The healing will happen if you just let yourself go through this experience, if you just witness this part of yourself, if you let yourself feel this part of yours pain that you had pushed aside, if you let yourself love this part of yourself, that the healing will naturally happen. There's nothing to do but just feel. Let yourself go into it and feel. And the integration will probably slowly continue to happen throughout the next couple of days, weeks, months, and there's nothing that you need to do. It'll just naturally happen. And if you feel like there's something you want to journal about or think about or meditate on, I would definitely suggest to do that and not ignore it. But honestly, I think it'll just naturally flow for you. There's really nothing more to do. And just witness yourself. Witness how much lighter you feel after this. Witness how much more empowered you feel, how much more energy you have. Like I woke up the next day after my integration and my partner was like, how do you feel? And I was like, great, which is crazy because the night before I was like in shambles, laying cuddled up like a freaking 8-year-old child holding a wooden angel, like a teddy bear. And then the next day I was like, I feel great. I feel energized. I feel light. I feel like complete. I feel whole, like this part of me that I didn't let exist. And like I had almost like before, it was like I was existing and then there was this like black, dark void in version of me that I was carrying with me. And that's heavy. And that also cuts off my energy from flowing. That cuts off my thoughts from flowing, my love from flowing. And so to integrate all parts of myself and my inner child into myself, I am all of a sudden a big, open, vast space where things can move and work. My energy can, thoughts and love and emotions can fully flow. And I am now a fully functioning person, soul, rather than carrying this huge block in me for my entire life. So those are my 7 steps to healing your inner child. If you have any questions, need any guidance, have your own tips that you would like to share, please comment below. I deeply, deeply appreciate you coming and watching and hanging out. I am here to send love to myself, to everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful experience, healing, feeling, whatever it is.